So here we are with good old Colony Delta. As was pointed out, a very long subtitle: Earth versus Sigma Draconis, a colony world in the balance. So one thing I forgot to mention: you start off with a pile of victory points at the beginning of the game. The goal is 1,000 victory points in the advanced game. We'll see if we can get there. But the other goal is where you set up your initial spaceport. Now, in the advanced game, it seems to indicate you can put it wherever the hell you like. However, I think you have to put it in the planes in the basic game. Let me see if I can find the setup. I know I didn't really worry about that before. Crap. These are not the easiest rules in the world to find things in. They're fairly easy. Okay. So here they actually specify. Yeah, I guess they allow you to be anywhere you like. I don't know. I must have read into it that it had to be in a plane space. So the goal is kind of, hey, where's there a lot of mining capability at the beginning of the game? Because that's what's going to run you the game. And the best mining is going to be in the mountains and underwater. And if we look at kind of concentrations, we got 3 here. This isn't so good. 2 good ones here. 3 in a row here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to select sort of where there are 3 double mines all next to each other, because it's much easier if you can transport your goods near one another, and randomly select some places. So let's see, we got a 1, 2, 3, 4, and that'll help decide what okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4. That'll help decide what kind of your strategy is going to be, because if you're in an underwater area, you've got protection from the natives, but there may be other problems as well. So let's look for the Earthlings. Maybe they'll choose something else. Okay, what other options are there? So I'm trying to think if there's any great advantage to not taking a double mine, and I can't think of it, so I'm gonna keep going with what I looked at. But maybe they're trying to reduce the possibility of getting actually, this shouldn't even be in the bidding, nor should this. So there's really 2 good areas. Oops. All right, let me try to space them out a little bit more. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we'll go back to the other way. 1, 2, 3 for the water. All right, the Earth's going to land in one of these. I'm not sure which one. 1, 2, 3. Put it in this one, and those are going to be the Earthlings, and then the Siggies. I'll follow the same pattern. They rolled too high, so now we're going to go to... I'm just doing some randomizing, but maybe you can follow what I'm trying to do. So now what I'm looking at is... I don't know. I think I had another spread out. I think I was going to go just... yeah, I don't remember how I randomized before. The idea was kind of, hey, at least 2 of them seems necessary. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Go with that. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, we'll put them near each other. What the hell? If they end up in the same space, they do not. Okay, so we end up with a really tight little fight here. This is going to be kind of interesting. I like it better where you have to land your initial in the planes, but that's not a rule in the game at all. Anyway, the problem I have with this is how did these get built so close to each other? So I'd rather not do this in this way. I'm gonna space it out a little bit more. 1, 2, 4. We'll put the Siggies up here. All right. That'll give me a little bit of room to expand, etc. Being underwater. So here's why I don't like the water, because it means the natives aren't going to get to play. And clearly you would want to take one of these two spaces. These are the most valuable in the advanced game. So I'm gonna throw all that out. I'm gonna do it with the rules that I used before, which is that you gotta build your initial space port in a planes. And in terms of planes, there are a couple that are particularly valuable, but then there are others that aren't terribly bad. You know, if you land somewhere, you know, like here, you could get the doubled farming benefit, which gives some benefits. So what I'm going to look at. This is the best. Yeah, again, you're gonna see collisions being very possible. All right. So what I'm gonna look at is 1 for this continent, 2 for this continent, 3 for this one. The other continents don't look as valuable. Okay, so the Earthlings are gonna go over here, and we'll see where we put them. I'm going to put them in a lake because those are the only good plain spaces there. So that's where the Earth one is going to go. And then let's see about the Siggies. The Siggies are going to be over here. And the question for them is lake or that. Those are really the only valuable locations. And we will take the mine there, which will give them good production to begin with. Fair enough. Okay, let's start this. Unfortunately, I've got an interview tomorrow, and I'm totally stressed. The first time I've done a face-to-face interview in quite a long time, and it's a long ways away, 2 hours by bus. I don't see how I'm possibly going to want to take the job, even if I can convince them. But it's vaguely in my area of expertise. Okay, we'll start off with weather rolls, and we do these for each quadrant. That's going to be bad weather on the human space. Okay, so the humans aren't going to be able to ship anything down. Their first turn's kind of a waste. I'm not going to spend any of my victory points. There's no reason to build anything because of the problem of where I am. So I speed through their turn, and they end up getting 5 victory points for farming. Doubled is 10. We pump them up to that. Somewhere in there, I'm able to roll for natives. I don't know if I do this on the first turn. Nope, not until the second turn. Okay. So now we'll go to the the Siggies, and well, they have good weather, so they're gonna actually start exploiting what they have. They also have a mining operation here, which changes things. So what you want to look at is, gee, how much can I carry in that stupid ship? And there's a description of all the different units here. Let me make sure this works just the same. It is the equivalent of shuttles, yeah. Which means I can carry... These are things I didn't go through when I looked at the rules because I was fairly familiar with the game, but I gotta look up all this stuff as I go. Up to 8 units and 50 ore per shuttlecraft. Okay. So if I want to haul 8 units, I'm pretty safe right now. The problem is I have to observe stacking limitations, and I believe that's at all times, which means carrying 8 units doesn't really help. No player may ever stack more than 4 combat units in a hex till the end of the turn, but units loaded on a transport don't count. So I can bring workers, but the problem with workers is I need a way to transport them. I have really one way to transport things, because these air cars only work for Capellans as transports. So my only real way to transport things is using the turtles. So if I built 4 workers and 4 turtles, I would get sort of my maximized capability for transporting my folk around. And that seems like a good idea if I can afford it all. Let's take a quick look at what my cost is. Turtles, 4 turtles is going to cost me 60, and 4 workers will cost me 20, so I have to spend 80 bucks. And you can see I'm running out pretty quickly. I'll keep these notionally on here to indicate that they're on board the shuttle. Oh, you know what the problem is the shuttle can only carry things down after my movement. So my ground movement happens first, then the shuttle lands, and everything's on board it, so it doesn't actually count against stacking. Alright, now for my production, well, since everything's on board the shuttle, I can't pop things out, but I could actually pop out 3 of my workers as combat units. However, production in a hex is limited to 5 colonists in a hex or a spaceport, so there's no real need for that. I'll leave everything here, assuming that there's no way the Earthlings can attack me. Now I get to do the mining, because I am not farming here, I'm mining. That's a doubled space, that's a normal mine. So I get 5 quick ore there. And that's the end of turn 1. I'm going to track the turns largely for no good reason. There are different alternative ending points. I want to see how long it takes to get the 1,000 points, basically, how many turns. My wife and I tried playing, but she conceded even before we hit the 12-turn basic game limit, just because I had pretty much clearly gotten into a position where I think it was obvious I was going to win. Alright, looking at turn 2 of Colony Delta. We're again going to be rolling the weather, but we don't roll here. We don't roll where there was already a weather event before, on the turn before. Okay, weather's fine everywhere. So now the humans go through basically the same process. What can I haul down? What do I need? I'm in this lake area here, which isn't necessarily the best of places. But I got ground cars. I also have submarines. Submarines are kind of problematic though, because I didn't build a spaceport on the coast. In fact, this is a terrible place for the humans to have landed, but that's okay. So I'm going to buy myself, let's see. Again, I can carry 8 things. Colonists will cost me 20 for 4 colonists. And we're basically just a turn behind. I'm sure the bugs will have problems too, but... And now, let's bring... some air cars down. Fighters can't transport stuff. So let's get 4 air cars. Air cars are cheaper than turtles. They only which makes it kind of nice that I'm not directly competing with the Siggies. That's one of the problems. The Earthlings actually probably are a little weaker militarily than the Sigma Dracs. Okay, so this is going to cost me 40 plus 20 is 60. I have 110, so I go to a quick 50. And these are going to pile up over here. Now, one thing that always disturbs me about this game, the victory point tracks, they're kind of reverses of each other. No, it's the order that they're in. They confuse me no matter what. Maybe it'll be easier facing the board this way. When I'm sitting in one of the positions, I'm always getting them confused as to what's the hundreds and what's the ones. It'd be kind of neat if the markers themselves had a marking on them or something. I don't know. All right, let me find the sequence of play. I think the next thing we do is we get to move things, but there's nothing to move because of this. So we're going to go to farming victory points again, and we get 10 points for that. Cranking us back up. Now we move things by space. Again, we can carry our 8 stuff down. No reason to unload it under these circumstances. Not even sure you can. And we got natives that we can roll for. I'm going to get 3 big native units. Same stacking for them, 4 combat units per space. You've limited by counter mix and everything. And natives you only have 12 of. I'm going to put a pile of these over here in the forests. Well, I'll put them here in the mountains to start causing some trouble for the Siggies. Alright. And my spaceship came down. Let's see. No mining. So that's all that we're doing there. We go back to the Siggies. Now, for them, they have a slightly different situation. I don't have a lot of points, which is sad because to get another spaceship is going to cost me 25 points, which means I'm not going to be able to drop another load of stuff down. It's the question between whether you want mining or farming to start with. Farming starting with means that you're able to build another spaceship usually, as well as dropping everything that you possibly can. It might have been a better idea for the Siggies to save an extra $5, but not really. I think bringing a full load down makes sense, and that way I'll be able to get that mining money. So we'll see how this plays out for them. They get to move. Well, for movement, what we want to do is we're going to take essentially each of these 4 turtles has one thing in it. We want to make it somewhere where we can make more money. 1, 2, 3, 4. I think we're allowed to farm on the bottom of the sea. I'm not positive about that. Let me see. No, only on planes. Okay. So I'm not in a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I can move these here, but the problem then is I could only drop 1 colonist off. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have 2 of these carry 2 colonists. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to here. Drop the colonists. Oops. I got all my colonists there. Drop the colonists off here. And I've formed a mining colony at the bottom of the ocean. Notably, I can't fly my soldiers there. I can't do all kinds of stuff, but I've got these turtles down here which can haul ore out of there, which I'll need for mining. But now I've got the problem here, and I'm not quite sure what to do about this. I'm pretty safe from the Sigma from the Colony Delta natives, because I got 10 combat with each of these turtles. I could probably, and then 2 for each colonist. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I can do the same and start another little mining colony here. It's not optimal, but I think it's the best that I can do given my starting position. I would like to have had something a little closer. Like if I hadn't started on this mine here, I could be, here, and then I could be exploiting these because I'd go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, dropping the colonists off, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, dropping the colonists off. So I wouldn't have to worry about keeping my turtles in the same stack. Alternatively, I could have all my colonists in one space, which is, I guess, what I was trying to aim for there with that example. Okay. But it's not really a big deal. That's my movement of units. I get to roll for my own natives. I only get 1. That's not a terribly good factor. I'll put it here. That causes some potential problems for the Earthlings. They're going to have to cope with that. Now I get my farming VPs. I don't have any. Now it's space movement. I'm going to haul this rock up to Terra. I could score it now. It doesn't really matter. But what does matter is that I produce more rock here. And in each of these I have 2 colonists, but they're underwater mines, so they're each going to produce twice that, or 4 produce. You can see. Kind of wish they had some 2-point counters to boot. This was before the technology of double-sided counters, and not really. But for FGU, they never reached that technology. Yeah. And now, finally, last but not least, I get my points for this. It's double the points, so I get $10. And that's the end of turn 2. You're seeing right away is, I can only bring the spaceship down on a spaceport to begin with. Now, I can move it once it's there. It's got this 8 movement points that I could fly by air to other locations and dump stuff off. We made a ruling that you can't land colonists underwater with a spaceship unless you have a spaceport, though. But it's very difficult if you're on different locations on the board to interact with each other. Let me just do a little hypothetical, though. Let's say we had started with that, hey, they were right next to each other. That would have created a very different kind of game. I've seen this perhaps more often than not, just because there's not a balance in terms of the locations on the board. So, if you were playing the water's the good place to be, well, this and this are the 2 good locations. And if you both pick the same one, you'll be in the same general area. If you pick land, this continent, I think, is the best continent. When we played, my wife took this space. We were playing with the plains rules, and I think I was down here to get closer into the mountains, and also to have my turtles able to exploit some of the water resources. That close combat, it sounds like, geez, you're going to be fighting right away. It is true, you will be. But that big 16 strength points, that's really tough to overcome. You can see I dropped a bunch of turtles down. 4 turtles is probably the most you can get. That's going to be the heaviest, say, Siggy force pull you're going to see. That's going to be 40 to 16. That gets you maybe 2 to 1, right? That's not a terribly good table. It's not bad, but it's not terribly good for guaranteeing that you're going to wipe out the enemy thing at no cost. And remember, the Terrans are going to be throwing down defensive forces as well. Now, I think the Siggies win if it ends up being a close fight, which is one reason why you'll see the Terrans go for the less valuable territory in a game. To to some extent you could say, wow, that really kind of screws them over. Yeah, sort of, except they have more capital. If they're out of the range of the enemy, they have more ability to buy things. Not necessarily for the military capability, that all works out about even, but for the transport capability, they have more ability. I think it was a mistake, though, to build this here on the lake, even though that gives me more points in the farming value. It prevents me from building submarines right off. I'll get them soon enough, but the advantage of submarines is that then I can start exploiting the underwater mining, which is really probably where the most points are on the game. But there's a lot of time is going to take place here, and there's going to be some combat, so there's definitely room for a player to challenge another player. It's not predetermined at this point. Like fairly soon I'm going to stop zooming in so much. I'm watching every single event that happens. I'll pay attention when combat happens, at least the first time. Okay, so we're on the turn. We rolled the weather. This quadrant is in bad shape. You know, one thing I didn't mention, it's a wraparound world, it's the whole globe. And then these spaces, because they're the north and south polar regions, are all adjacent to one another. So 6 would be adjacent to 6 over here. 11 is going to be adjacent to 1 through 33 on this side. It's somewhat distorted, obviously, but it does handle getting it on a two-dimensional surface fairly easily. Alright, let's look at our humans and see what we're doing. We have a decent amount of points. I'm definitely going to want 2 spaceships. It's not such a big deal right now, but as soon as I start mining, I'm going to want to be able to pull my mining goods up each turn. Is it necessary right now? I don't know. Let's see where my air cars can take me. I'm not going to be able to set up here very easily. Now, I can fly over water. Once I get 5 people in a space, though, it becomes a spaceport and I can't move it anymore. So you kind of want to put some care towards where you build your spaceports. What I'd like to do is wipe these suckers out, because I want to be able to land there. As of right now, that means I'm still in sort of a temporary positioning on the board. So I think I'm going to build some military capability and another spaceship. The spaceship cost me 25. You can see I want it to move to thousands. And now, what do I want for military capability? A good question. Actually, these air cars, you can put other races in them, I believe. I think I was mistaken about them. Yeah, they can transport 1 unit just like a hovercraft can. I think hovercraft only transport 1 unit, and turtles and such not. It's not spelled out here. I think it's 1 per. That's what I told you, so that's what we'll go with. Alright, now I want some fighting capability to take these out. My easiest fighting capability are these little flying guys. And they're also my strongest. So, how much do they cost me each? They cost 9 apiece, which is the same cost as soldiers for the Sigma Drax. 9, 18, 27. But if I don't bring down colonists, I'm kind of weakening my board presence. 27. I only have 35. I don't need this much strength to deal with these Siggy Drax, probably. 15 to 4. Well, I'm going to need an air car. No, I'm not going to need an air car. I have some air cars, so I have some combat capability with them. The problem is getting the right mix down to handle things. So 27, let me buy some colonists. That brings me up to 32. I think that's the best I can really do. And I put these, oops. It's hard to be on the wrong side of the board, but okay. So that's what we're going to buy there. I'm allowed to move. I don't really have the combat capacity here. I've got 4 of these, that's 12. That's 3 to 1. That's not bad. I don't think the natives give any defensive benefits. Let me see if they do. Yeah, I don't see any indication that they do. So I might be able to attack these. So here's what I'm going to do. I grab these 4 guys. I fly them 1 space, 2. I have to spend a 3rd movement point to attack into here. So now I've got 12 to 4. That gives me 3 to 1 odds. That's not too bad. Maybe I should have built more colonists instead, but I expect I'm going to have a constant fight against the natives. You know what? Nah, I'm good, because I can go back and pick them up. I get an exchange. That means I have to lose 4 strength points of these and at least 4 strength points of these. Okay. Now, we spent, let's see, 1, 2, we can go back 3, 4, 5, fly these, drop them off, 6 to here. Because the native recruitment happens after movement, I don't have to worry about getting attacked, so I'm kind of safe like this. And now I've begun mining in the mountains. I'll be able to drop a spaceport there eventually. I probably needed more colonists and less troops, but that's okay. I get my farming victory points, which is 10 as usual. Again, I don't get my mining yet. I get to haul my troops down, and at the same time I'm throwing my spaceship, my other spaceship, back home to Earth in order to pick up next turn's load of colonists, as it will be colonists next turn. After that, somewhere in there I get my natives. I roll for natives before that. Let's take care of that. I get 2 natives. I don't want to overstack here, so I'll throw them over here to help defend, and I'm, kind of taking control of these mountains. It could well be that this native revolt is enough to take out eventually the spaceport. It only needs to get damage against the spaceport to wipe it out, if I recall correctly. Let me see. Yeah, you have to lose at least that amount if I'm correct. Some games let's see if there's an example here, because that might tell me. Yeah, you have to lose at least as many strength points as that multiplier, say a quarter your strength or whatever. So it's fairly easy if odds can be gotten to wipe out one of these big things. But the hard part is getting the odds and also dealing with the combat strength. Yeah, there might be other troops there which are going to be inhibiting actions. Alright, so now I do my mining. These guys produce 2 And the 2 over here are doubled, so they produce 4. There might be issues with not enough counters for all the ore if you spread out and have a lot of small colonies. Once you get big colonies, you start getting big piles of ore. The ore itself is transported by your regular mobile units. Okay, so that is, I believe, the end of the human turn. And we'll go to the sea turn. They have some points. I don't need to buy another spaceship at this point. I do need, however, to build more turtles, because these guys are going to be transporting ore back, and I need things for next turn. Well, I'll have them there next turn, so actually no, I don't. So I can buy 5 colonists, or 4 colonists, because that's how many I have. At 5 each, that's 20 bucks. That's how much transport capacity I have right now. Do I want to bring something else down? I think it's a good idea to bring some troops into play. Turtles are expensive, so I'm going to bring me some bugs. They only cost me 9. Not 100 there. Now, if you look, the Capellans are more expensive at 10 bucks each. They're really not worth it for the humans because they're not terribly good. They don't really provide you with extra capacity. They can be useful for the Siggies because you don't have human-like combat units. Of course, you know, with that capability to move on land or in air. So that's kind of a choice that one has to decide upon with them. All right, and now I actually get my movement. I lost my natives, so I'm gonna move. I'm gonna leave my people here, or bugs, but I get to move back. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And we got piles of counters we gotta worry about. Here's the problem. I got too much crap to get everything onto my thing, because no, I don't. All right, I'm fine. And these also come, but yeah, I do, because I've got 3 units there now, so I can only bring 1 back. I got to decide what to do with this other unit. I have nothing I can load it on. I'll just keep a pile there until I have more hands. And that's kind of problematic. What do I want to do with this guy? He can stay here to keep delivering ore next turn. That's probably his best move. So actually I'll leave one here instead. I think that's a more valuable location. Yeah, but I'm more likely to be delivering colonists there. Okay. And now what do? We probably bought one too many colonists, because I didn't really think. I thought, geez, I have 4 turtles, I can bring 4 home. Now, I could move him most of the way home, but he wouldn't really be able to carry the dude. That may make more sense. Let's leave him next door. Oops. Let's leave him next door. Oh, not actually in the spaceport. Now, I get to fly stuff, and this, let's make some change and get a 10 here. Now you can see the defense of my spaceport is 1646. There's no way the natives are going to be able to touch that. But on off turns when there's not a lot of turtles or something there, that's great. These guys are going to fly down. Somewhere in this period, I get to roll for my natives, and I only get one. I don't know where to put them. I'll throw them back here in the mountains. I want them to challenge the Earthlings rather than, you know, do nothing whatsoever. And now I get my mining. I get 5 more here and 4 more in each of those, which I'll place down. I'm not going to get any mining victory points because I wasn't able to, I don't have a second ship online, so I'm not able to haul my mining resources up that might have been produced earlier. There were some here, at least. All right, that's the end of the turn, and I'm going to load this one up, even though we haven't seen much in the way of combat, just this one little one. I think that gives you a pretty clear view of what it's going to be like.